Hey guys, welcome back to Andertons TV, and we have got a treat today. We are at Marshall's HQ in Milton Keynes. Steve here is going to take us round, and I tell you what, this is going to be, I'm so buzzing about this, right? So Steve's going to take us round and show us where the amps are built, where they have been built in this location or in this general location since 1966.
1966 on
Crazy.
the site.
We're going to have a look at the museum. If you're a fan of anything really, sort of vintage guitar amplifier or even some more recent stuff, you're going to be drooling through that. And then the best bit, at least for me personally, is I'm seeing Terry Marshall later on, Jim's son Terry. Terry is the T in JTM, and Terry was my Marshall rep back at Andertons when I very first started, so going back to the sort of late 80s, early 90s. And I haven't seen Terry for probably 25 years. So anyways,
looking forward.
Might be a long video, so stay tuned. But yeah, Steve, how long have you been here for?
I've been here 39 years now.
39 years.
Came for a 6-month job.
And you do one of the, I think, most skilled jobs when it comes to building amplifiers. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
I was part of the finishing department, which is the best department in the building.
Yeah.
I've done that for 25 years, building every unit we can build.
Yeah.
And now I run the design store side of it.
Design store, which is super cool. And you do all the tours,
I also
right?
do the tours, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, look, we're going to head off first to the factory to see where it's all made. Okay, so we're starting in the wood shop.
Yeah, built.
Loads and loads of wood. How many amps do you think are made every day here?
Weekly, we do about 450 units
Wow.
a week.
You know what, it's crazy, because in my life at Andertons, I've been up to Marshall maybe 4 times, I think. And I remember it being crazy busy when you were making valve state and everything out of here.
Yeah.
And then I remember it being pretty quiet, actually, you know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I think. 4-day weeks and all that kind of stuff. But I'm super pleased to say, I feel like it's like busier than ever now.
Oh, yeah,
more staff, more,
really
which is
busy.
amazing. What a success.
Really
So look,
good.
tell us about, where's the, is the wood, what is it all, like a birch ply kind of stuff?
It's actually a beech ply we use.
Okay.
Because it's the best stuff that doesn't bend.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect the sound or anything. So we get it coming in 86 sheets over there.
Yeah.
Then it goes onto the Morbidelli here, which cuts it into the different panels we need.
Yeah.
And then
let's have a little look.
Yeah.
I mean, it's these kinds of machines, you see them in amp factories and guitar factories, sort of anything really that's got to cut a piece of wood.
Yeah,
this is the sort of machine you use these days.
And then just cut it out, whatever panels we need.
Yeah.
Then
and I guess you've got, you're using this lovely, would you call that like a finger jointed?
Yeah, finger joint or tongue and groove.
So it's a really, really good quality of join on there. But you must be cutting hundreds and hundreds of different shapes of wood to make all the products.
Has the old join. We've always done that join.
Right.
So,
wow. Have you ever seen so many guitar amps and cabinets? Where to next then, Steve?
Well, this is just about
oh, we're just about to go. Okay, cool.
This is the Studio Vintage 212 cab.
Okay. And how many? So, presumably, the whole point with this is to minimise the wastage of the wood. So you've obviously programmed the machine up to use as much of that sheet as possible.
Yeah, there's hardly any wastage on it.
Oh, that's good.
So,
So presumably it's the assembly next, is it? Where they're glued together?
So this is where the boxes are put together. So we get the 4 sides, they're glued, they go in this machine behind us. This compresses them and bakes them.
That's like a clamp and a heating thing at the same time, is it?
When they're dry, they then stacks up here like this.
It's quite interesting how much of the edge has to be sanded in rather than it's not sort of a pre-cut
it's
rounded
all done
edge,
very
is
square.
it? Yeah.
Then we go to the desk here, they fit the front and back battens onto them.
Yeah.
And when they're all done, we go round to the machine round the side, the router, which puts the actual radiuses on.
Cool, let's have a look at that.
This.
If you look at where the nice rounded edges appear on the cabinet, that's what's happening over there.
Depending what model it is, it has a different radius, obviously.
Would you, when in the earlier days, would you have done a lot more of this by hand, or has it always been some sort of...
this would have all been done by hand at the start.
Yeah.
You know,
it's so much faster with a machine like that, isn't it?
Now we can make them really quick. So it takes them under 5 minutes to do a whole box.
Amazing.
Yeah. So next, when it's done there, come onto this bench.
So there's another element of hand sanding that goes on as well.
Sanded.
Yeah.
They use 3 different grades of paper. Take it down from rough all the way down to perfectly smooth. Like I said, it's all done by hand.
I'm constantly amazed by how many 4x12s seem to get sold. You know,
there must be hundreds and hundreds all over the world. So when they're all done, they're all stacked up into their different versions.
Yep.
And then when they're meant to be covered, they all go onto the conveyor here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So
this is the conveyor.
So there's an element of spraying them first.
Yeah.
So they're just loaded up onto this conveyor belt, are they?
It goes onto here as a completely empty box.
Yep.
Goes through the oven, which is through the other side of the flaps. That heats the wood up. We then go to the first spray booth. It sprays the internals. If it's going to be visible when it's finished, we spray it black. Because it's heated up, it dries straight away.
Right.
It then goes round to another spray booth where we spray the glue on.
Right.
So we use a heat treat with glue.
Fine. So the guys doing the finishing aren't putting the glue on. That's automated, is it? That's sprayed on.
It's sprayed on by hand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, let's have a little look then.
Yeah, we'll go through this way. So this is the oven.
It's nice and warm here.
We use this to heat up the wood, so when we spray it, it dries a lot quicker.
So it is.
If we leave the oven on and turn the conveyor off with a cab in there, you'd know within a minute.
Really? What, the cab would ignite, would it?
Yeah, you'd start to smell the cab.
Wow.
So
that is hot in there then.
Yeah, it is very hot.
Wow.
So
it's the most essential piece of manufacturing equipment here. This is this is the machine that keeps the staff going. Mega cheap for a latte in here.
Yeah.
Starbucks, are you watching? Look. That's what I want to pay in there.
And we have our Marshall fridge next door as well.
Yeah.
So this is the spray booth. If it's going to be visible when we finish it, we spray it black.
So and are you saying normally there'd be someone in here doing this by hand?
There's normally someone here hand spraying it.
Yeah.
He'll spray all the internals of it. So,
yeah. Cool.
So heads and combos mainly. Then we go into the covering department.
You see, this is your old stomping ground.
Yeah, I was in here for maiden and finishing, so this is our other spray booth. So in this one, we spray the glue on.
Right.
So
it's just the other side of the same booth, basically, isn't it?
It's a heat-treated glue, so while it's sticky, it's really hot. And then the levers, the Tolex is sprayed up here. So we spray the Tolex as well.
Oh, you mean just for glue, the inside of it?
Yeah, we spray the inside of it. You can see. We spray the Tolex there. Then it goes onto here to be heated up.
Yep.
So while they're both warm, we put the lever onto a desk.
Now, this always blows my mind because this would take, I mean, not only would this take me hours to do, I do such a shit job of it as well. And yet these guys, once you've seen a guy doing covering and he's got fairly experienced, they're like, they rattle through this and do an amazing job as well. I want to hear your Tell us about your first day at Marshall.
First day I was here, I was building the old 12 watts, which we used to build.
That was my first guitar amp, little 12 watt practice amp.
I've been taught to do one bit of it. I was doing it and someone come along and asked if I was new. He then said he'd show me what to do.
Right.
We then disappeared and then I found out after it was Jim Marshall. So he actually taught me some stuff when he first got here.
It was proper. Some of the stories I used to hear about Jim, you know, he'd be the guy that would go around making sure all the vending machines were full up and emptied of the cash at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And didn't he have a bed or something, or a bedroom on the back of his office here? Because he was just like here all the time. And
if someone said you couldn't do the job, he'd show them how to do it. So
it's proper old school.
Proper old school. Yeah.
Bless. That's
if
great.
Really doing it for you.
So where to now then?
So when the cabs are racked, they're put on this roller here. They then go down to be covered. So
I see. So the wrapping and the finishing, it's like two separate processes. Yeah.
So they wrap them up and then they bring them here.
Does that just give the glue a little bit of time maybe to dry a bit?
Gives it time to cool down a little bit, get tacky, and then it'll come into one of these desks or the ones down the other side, and they'll just they'll finish it. So everyone's taught how to do it here. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess you've got some guys here that have been here for a while, right?
Yeah, we've got Paul over there. We just saw rapping. He's been here 30 years now.
30 years. Amazing.
Terry down here, he's been here about 20 years now.
Brilliant.
So he can cover the cabs.
Oh, you know what? I think if I was working in here, I'd want to be in. It's the noise that you don't. You know, it's loud, isn't it?
Yeah,
in certain
it's a loud place. So this is a cab being covered. This is pretty much the same way we've always done it since the start. So
I think the Tolex maybe changes a little bit over time, but the process is much the same, isn't it? Yeah. It's interesting. I know one of the we were chatting earlier. The Tolex that was used in the 60s, the sort of thinner, almost more of like a leathery kind of, used to take not so much longer to apply, but it was the smoothness of the cab had to be more finished, didn't it? Yeah. What would happen if you just had little tiny...
If you had a small speck of dust, you would end up with like an inch square
like a bubble.
Bubble there.
And what the modern Tolex can go over that and
it can cover up little tiny bits, but we just now everything is, like I said, hand sanded 3 times. So when it gets to be wrapped, it has no.
Oh, you know what? Are we allowed to say what those are? We're going to see it in the museum, I think, in a minute, aren't we?
Yeah. They're going to NAMM for the
amazing.
So
there's like a Sex Pistols kind of limited. Is it a JCM 800?
It's an 800. It's just for them. We just made them for them.
Oh, it's just for them?
Yeah, it's just for Steve Jones. He wanted them, so.
Amazing.
And they're done in the colours of the actual album.
It's a wicked looking.
Yeah.
So again, whilst you talk about your design store role, presumably if anybody was going, do you know what, I want a pink Tolex wrap thing with a graphic on it, they can still do all that through design store.
Yeah, if you go to the design store, we have set options you can use.
Yeah.
And you can pick whatever you want and just build whatever you like. So,
excellent.
You know,
I wasn't expecting to hear Simply Red in the Marshall factory. But I was thinking, we might have a bit of Metallica or something like that. But
it's actually everyone gets to pick 5 songs a month.
Do they?
Yeah.
So brilliant. So who do we shout out for picking Simply Red then?
I'd hate to pick. So then when the cabs are done, they're put on the rollers here. The baffles are already made, so they're fretted up ready.
Yeah.
So then these boys just find out which unit they're making, and then they build that unit completely from scratch.
Where does the little beading go in? Because I always think that you've got the
white piping,
but then also the gold beading that's on the top of the
that's done on here.
That's all done here as well.
What these take a completely empty box.
Yeah.
And then they have to do everything. So if it's an old type that has the beading, they staple the beading in, then they put the piping in.
It's such an iconic look, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't get away from all of those musical products from the 50s and 60s, whether they were amps or guitars, they just got the look right, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
It's just a beautifully cool looking thing.
It's very stylish.
So I guess we're moving now towards metalwork, are we? And chassis.
Yeah, we'll go that way. These amps are all ready to go in.
Yeah.
So literally.
So I guess you've got almost two simultaneous processes, right? You've got the woodworking and the covering simultaneously happening to a separate part of the factory where all of the metalworking and the electronics.
The other side. So the wood mill normally builds the cabs, starts building them about a week or two before.
Right.
So we know by the time the amps are ready, the cabs are done.
I'm trying to see what that was. Oh, what is it?
There you go.
1960. Okay, so a blues breaker type thing.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah.
I thought they had EL34s in them. We got 6L6s, but who knows?
And a protected piece of cardboard.
Yeah, protected cardboard. Where would we be?
Where would we be without cardboard?
Oh, look.
These are others. These are
Studios,
Studio 20s. They're the latest one, the one of the, based on number one. So,
great sounding amp. God, I just can't get over how big it is.
It's a bit like the TARDIS, this place.
It is.
You look from the outside, it's really small, but then you get in here. So this is all finished, so this work's all ready to go.
You can't imagine that in 1963 or whatever, it was a little shop with like a 5-meter shop front, in Hamwell. And then relatively quickly, by the end of the sort of 60s or mid 70s, all of a sudden it's a big old factory, isn't it?
Proper big old factory. We're still, quite small compared to a lot of stuff. So.
Well, you say that. I mean, I've been to plenty of factories now, maybe not so much the mega ones in China, but, been around Fender and Gibson and Martin, and it's not that much smaller, it's impressive.
Perhaps it's because we feel it's more like a little families thing. So we still feel it's like a little family place. We know everyone that works here. We all know each other and everything. So it gives us that small feel. This is engineering. So this is where all our metalwork is done. So
you're punching and bending all of the metalwork in-house?
Yep, it's all done in-house. So it comes in a sheet of steel. We have different thicknesses.
Oh wow! Is that just the protective grills on the back?
No, that's the actual grill you have on if you see a 62, that little grill at the top above the valve.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And on some of the old type, the backs, that's the grills we have on them. So a sheet of steel comes in, goes onto this machine here. This then stamps out about eight chassis in one go.
We were in here a bit earlier. This is the noisy one, right?
This is the noisy one.
So this is really noisy, but tell us about the one you had before.
So the one before we had was actually smaller than this.
Right.
But it was so loud we could actually feel the vibrations on the floor, and anywhere in the building you'd know when this was running.
Holy moly, not good for the structural, of the building.
And we could actually, when we built the studio, we could feel this in the studio when we've done all the tests.
Wow.
So.
And the folding, is that just done on another set?
That's done on the machine
here, is it?
So this machine punches out about 8 chassis.
Yeah.
Then goes onto this bench here where they file the edges of everything.
Okay.
Put the waste over here so we get recycled.
Okay.
Then when the chassis is filed, they put it in here. It's all done by hand.
So it starts like that?
Yeah, so they'll take one of them,
like that.
Put it in this machine. It's all controlled by their feet. They put it in, stamp their feet, it bends it. When it's done, it ends up like this. And then if it needs welding, they go behind.
You do a lot of welding as well, or just weld up the edges and stuff?
All the welding's done by hand. It's done in there.
Cool.
And that's aluminium chassis as well, because we still use aluminium chassis.
And then I'm completely lost now as to where we are. There's a little bit of warehousing over here as well. I know, just in case people are seeing the tall boxes in the background. That's a drum brand that you own,
use,
isn't it?
We've had them for about 18
Never
years
forget,
now.
Jim Marshall was a drummer. So I think it fulfilled a lifelong dream for him to own a drum brand.
Until they never actually made drums until we brought them.
Really?
Yeah, they used to make percussion.
Right. Okay. So
the company was actually 3 years younger than Marshall's.
Really?
Yes,
I
it
didn't
was
know
made in
that.
65.
Sold a few of these, didn't we?
Yeah, so these are our reissues. We brought them out a couple of years ago of the Governor and everything. They're all made in-house.
And do you stamp all the metal for that and everything in-house as well?
The only thing we don't do in-house is the powder coating. So we send the powder coating out.
So you don't do the powder coating in-house for all the amps?
We send that out to a local company.
Why is that then? Just
it's just
how it's always been?
Yeah, it's always been. They know how to do it better than us. So
enough.
We just send it out to them.
Fair enough. But someone else in Milton Keynes on this estate sort of thing, so it's quite a quick...
Yeah, oh yeah, it takes about a week for a whole pallet to come back of it. So these lines build all the amps, so they can go from an empty chassis to a full working chassis ready to be in box, roughly about every 2.5 to 3 hours.
I still think everybody who watches these videos, and certainly I always get the impression when I walk around that a lot more human labour goes into making this stuff than maybe people think.
Yeah, it's still pretty much handmade.
No, it's cool.
Yeah. So these are test parts.
I was about to say I wouldn't even. I recognise the model numbers and stuff on them, but I've got no idea what the machines do.
So these are part of this machine.
Right.
This is our flow solder machine, so these can solder a whole circuit board in under a minute.
Yes.
But then test parts actually go in here.
Right.
So when the board's soldered and checked, it then comes into here. And there's a pipe that comes up underneath the board, and the one that comes on top of it tests every single thing on it.
What, handing this is the machine that's doing the insertion of the components?
No, this is just the solder machine.
So there's prior to this, the insertion is done and then this solders it all up, does it? Right.
So when the board's all fitted up and ready, it goes in here.
Yeah.
It's heated up to about 400 degrees.
Right.
And then when it gets to here, the solder comes up in a big wave. And by the time the board moves from there to there,
it's basically done.
The whole thing is soldered.
Amazing.
It then gets visually inspected.
Some of these processes, and you look at the sort of the way that the production line is working, it almost feels like a throwback to just like, I'm not entirely sure that some of this stuff has really changed a great deal in 50 years, has it?
No, we don't change much of it. If we don't need to change it, we don't bother. You know, if it works well, we use it. So
amazing.
So these two lines install all the components. Mm-hmm. So we have a machine like this one that does 40% of it. So we'll program at the end which circuit board it is. Mm-hmm. It then collects 40% of the parts and fits them, but it doesn't solder them in. So they're just fitted in and just loose. Yeah. They then come onto these two lines and they fit the other 60% by hand.
Got it. I did know, I think I have a vague recollection that I was up at Marshall when you'd first bought that machine that did the inserted the parts, which obviously must speed things up massively. Yeah. But I didn't realise that didn't insert all the parts. No, so you're saying 40%?
Only 40% of the parts.
And then the remaining 60% done by these guys?
Yeah.
Or these girls, I should say.
Yeah, and then this line is our hand wire line.
Yeah.
So this is where no machines touch the stuff. So we go from an empty prepped chassis there.
Yeah.
The girls will then make the circuit board by hand.
And this is proper old school. So this is when you literally start going back and going on the hand wired stuff.
Yeah. So this
is exactly how it would have been built.
This is how it would have been when we've done it. So they'll build the board, install it, and do one unit each, so it doesn't get passed around. So one person makes.
Wow! And what are they doing? Are they following a pre-made board to copy it, or they
have all their drawings?
It's got the schematics there,
and they just follow it, and they just follow all that. So they get a slightly prepped chassis here. There's the chassis has the transformers and stuff fitted and the panels. Then it comes to here, and then they fit all the internals.
This is great.
Yeah, one person does 1 amp, and then when it's finished, it comes into the test room here.
I think everybody sort of thinks that the guys who do in the test room have like the best job in the world because you just play guitar all day long. But can you imagine at the volume that you've got to test? It's just like they must just get used to just playing like the same 5 notes or whatever to sort of go, right, it works, boom.
Yeah.
I bet all they want to do at the end of the day is just go and sit in a nice dark room with like no noise.
On. Yeah. And then when they're done, this is what they end up with.
This is proper.
Yeah,
I just think this is called turret board, isn't it? I think this brown.
Yeah, the brown biscuit board
Biscuit board, is it? And that's just, look at that. It looks like an old like school project, doesn't it? That you would have done in the 1950s, building a radio or something like that.
They'll take an empty brown board and fit everything in by hand. So they'll screw every little turret in and then do everything like it.
And who knew that plug a guitar in the front of one of these and then some of the greatest noises you've ever heard come out the speakers.
Earth-changing noise comes out.
Amazing. Yeah. That's cool. So where might we see an actual finished, that's what it looks like? Are they sort of...
well, we can look on the conveyor belt, you can see the actual finished ones going up.
Just for where they get packed into boxes?
Yeah. So they go down this conveyor belt, get tested in a guitar.
Yeah.
And then everyone gets boxed up.
And then shipped to almost every corner of the world, right?
Yeah, they go everywhere. So.
Yeah, I love. One of the things I love the most is being in America and listening to American people talk so reverentially about Marshall amplifiers.
Yeah.
I think almost growing up in the UK and just feeling like, oh yeah, that's just the amp we make like up the road. It's sort of, you just get used to it, but everywhere else in the world like worships this stuff, don't they?
We've actually had, about a month and a half ago, we had a bloke come over all the way from Brazil.
Just to see?
Just to come and tour this factory. That was part of his holiday. He was here for 2 weeks and the main part of his holiday was to come here.
Amazing.
And he did, we gave him a tour of the place. He loved it, it fulfilled all his dreams. It was his bucket list one ticked off.
Okay, you get through some cardboard here as well, don't you?
Oh yeah, we so they come up the belt here. They know what's coming up, so they have the box made.
And that right, so here we are.
They have them all prepped up there, and then they
big lorries come along and take them all away to somewhere.
Yep, they put the unit in like this. Has got the unit in with all the packing. These are ready to go, and then they go off all over the world. Yeah.
It's always fun to see if I can find a packing note somewhere to see which retailer or what country something's going to, but I can't see one here, so I can't tell you.
No, we just know these ones are going. This is going to Europe.
Oh,
this is going to America. So just by the little specs we have on them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve, what a pleasure.
Yeah.
You're going to take us around the museum now?
Yeah, we'll show you the museum.
Superb. See you in a bit. Okay, we're back at reception again, and we're going to take a look at the Marshall Museum. Steve's going to take us round. This has been here for a few years, this, hasn't it? I remember this.
It's been here since the 50th anniversary of Milton Keynes forming.
Okay, wow.
So, yeah,
no, I mean, people in the UK might know, but for those around the world, Milton Keynes was a sort of a post-World War II sort of new city, wasn't it? Full of roundabouts.
Yeah, so that's how Marshall's actually come to Milton Keynes.
What, as in just was offered the chance to move?
Yeah, they were offered the chance. They were doing incentives to move here. And at the time, the road out the front was the main road through England. So
what's it? What, that one?
Yeah.
Blimey.
That was the old A5.
There was some traffic jams on there.
Yeah, so that was the old A5. So that was the main road.
So let's just pan around, whet people's appetite, but we'll start at one end and we'll go up and down and we'll sort of pick out anything that looks interesting or of historical importance. So do you want to start, should we start that end or does it not really?
It don't really matter. We can start with Jim's drum kit.
So dear old Jim, in the middle there with the rather fetching moustache, was a drummer who had a music store in Hanwell. And it was always freaked me out a little bit that some of my earliest memories of Andertons were when Jim would ask how my granddad was, because my granddad, perhaps we'll put a screen on now, was similar kind of era drummer, big band kind of thing.
Yeah.
and I don't think they knew each other terribly well, but they certainly knew each other from the London scene.
Yeah.
And they would have like Bert Wheaton. They were both mates with Bert
with
Wheaton, and
Bert
just
was
like
there all the time.
And it's so. Jim used to. I always used to find it fascinating that Jim could be mates with Bert Wheaton, quite old school. You know, I remember when Marshall would sponsor Come Dancing, you know, the predecessor to Strictly Come Dancing.
All the way through the 70s.
And then you'd see him, like, the next day talking to Lemmy from Motorhead, you know, and it was just like, how do you balance both those worlds? But he did, you know.
Yeah.
So what have we got? What have we got here?
So this is one of the old PAs from the 60s.
Is this a PA head?
No,
right.
That one.
That's JTM40.
Yeah, JTM40. This is an 8x10.
So tell us how did the 4x12 get? Because that just reminds me of how did the 4x12 was originally designed.
Well, the 4x12 was started because Pete Townsend obviously had a 100-watt amp, so he needed a bigger cab. So Jim said, "We'll give you 2 cabs with 4 speakers in each one," and Pete said, "No, I want it with 1 cab." So we had the 8x10, and then after a while,
just wasn't practical.
He came back and said, "Can we go with the other idea?"
So it was a 8x10 first, was it? Not an 8x12?
No, sorry, it wasn't actually an 8x12.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So which is the one we've just walked past on the stairs.
Oh, a reissue. So
that is a replica we made for our 50th anniversary.
Can you imagine? I mean, it's bad enough trying to get a 4x12 in and out of car. Can you imagine trying to get an 8x12?
8x12 is just.
So yeah, I do remember this this would have been what, 80s era, something like that? These
this
cabinets?
was actually 60s.
Well,
late 60s, early 70s.
Fine.
Early style.
Look at the bins, like massive
huge
big bins.
And the little desk with hardly any channels. You couldn't even do a drum kit now.
I mean, that's... this always freaks me out in the sense of, you know, people go, who on earth needs a 100-watt 8x12? It's like, well, those kinds of venues, there was no, the PA would have been some crappy little PA, so
there
did.
was no PA, so you needed it.
This looks old.
This is from about 67.
Oh, man.
We obtained it a while back. It's an all-working, all-original.
Proper blues breaker.
So it's a proper old-school blues breaker.
And you've got to be sort of going, in 67, I'm assuming not that many of these were being made.
No, not really.
So the chances are
of getting
anything from that era probably was used by a pro or a semi-pro and would have had some stories to tell.
Your normal punter wouldn't want to buy one of these. So.
There you go, Lead 12, that's what you were just, that was my first, not the stack, but the little combo version of that was my first little amp. 12s. You never know, maybe you wrapped it.
Could have. Most probably got my name inside it or someone's name inside it.
So people are going to see the odd Park amplifier in here.
Which we've got a load here.
Tell us the story of Park.
We were told that Rose Morris wouldn't let us distribute to certain places because Rose Morris was our distributor at the time.
Right.
So we've always been told that Jim said, well, we'll make another name then.
So they wouldn't let you sell to certain people, you mean? Right.
So he invented the Park.
Right. Where did that name come from?
We're told it came from a shop in Birmingham called Kitchener Park.
Right.
And Jim borrowed the name Park. So they are Marshalls.
Oh, so you've then got the kitchen, right? I see. So this was the other part of that Kitchen Park name.
So they are Marshalls. They're just slightly different named.
I don't even know what that is. What is that, like a 4-channel PA thing again?
Yeah, it's a 50-watt PA. And then the 100-watt underneath it.
My word. My dad tells a story of when H&H designed the first sort of slimline 100-watt PA head. Yeah. And prior to that, everything had been this huge valve stuff.
Huge big box.
And you know, he tells the story of the H&H delivery driver would turn up, which would have been a van from H&H. Yeah. And there were customers waiting for the van, and my dad would literally be unloading them off the van, pass it to the customer, and they'd be giving him the 100 quid or whatever it was. And just everyone was like, oh, thank God, it's like something I can actually lift up without giving myself a hernia.
Then we got the Marshall that you can't lift up in front of
this.
That. No, the one there.
This?
That's a Marshall Major.
when I say I can't lift up because I'm not allowed, or because I just won't be able to?
It's 200 watt amp, so.
Jeez. Yep. I mean, I probably could lift that, but that's like like the weight of a Fender Twin just in a head.
Yeah. So they were the ones used.
Let me see if I can put it on top of this just so you can get a shot of it. Oh my God. So sorry, what would you have used the Marshall Major for?
These were 200 watt amps. These were used, this style of amp was used by like Richie Blackmore in Deep Purple and everything.
Wow, so it's a guitar amp?
Yeah, it's a 200 watt guitar amp. So they made about 3 or 4 different versions of it. So these were the ones used by like Richie Blackmore and Mick Ronson from Spiders from Mars and everything.
Wow. So. I shall put it back. Oh, do you know what, before I put it back down here though, this is the, I could be here a while. What's that?
That's a little Park 8 watt.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
And were these, I guess you can tell from the back, it's obviously got a relatively affordable kind of, so this would have just been sold to beginners that just wanted to learn to play?
Yeah, you could learn to play one of these.
Superb. Superb. I mean, I do remember when this museum first started and there was about a quarter of the stuff up here. And it does almost feel like there's so much amazing stuff buried underneath something that probably hasn't even been seen.
We haven't got the room for it all now.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
It's one from the early 60s that was donated back to us.
So it's just an old JTM again, is it?
Yeah, and the customers loved it for years. Took the covering off it to have a wooden version, and then decided they'd give it back to us. So a lot of our stuff has come back from people they just want to send it back home.
What's your favourite Marshall logo over the years? Is it the script one, or do you...
I do like the script, but I like the coffin logo now.
Right.
Because we've been doing a lot of them. I think them 2 logos are the good 2.
I think the script logo is just so instantly recognisable and iconic.
Oh yeah, if you go anywhere and see that white logo,
I definitely
used
to sell these when I first started at Andertons. This was a bit like that H&H thing that I was just saying, wasn't it?
Yeah.
JTM 100. Wow, I don't think I've ever heard of that. So presumably just a 100 watt?
Yeah, 100 watt JTM.
So what is that, like sort of mid to late 60s or something?
Yeah. So, then we got the Jubilees behind us and the 30th anniversaries.
Yeah.
So we got all them. Then we've got number 1 in the glass case.
Oh, fair enough. Number 1.
Yeah.
But I'm right in saying that, and we're obviously looking forward to seeing Terry later, but Terry would have been around.
Terry was there when this was
made.
Yeah, this was the first one we put in the shop window. So this was put in the shop window in September '62, we believe.
And
And they sold 23 in one day.
And did he always keep number 1, or did this get
No, this was sold.
This was purchased back?
Yeah, this was purchased, and then someone part exchanged it before we moved down here in '66.
Oh, so they had it back, they've had it in the Marshall factory for a long time?
Yeah, for years it used to sit on Jim's desk in his office.
Number 1.
Yeah, and then when we turned 50 in 2012, it actually went and done a tour of Europe on its own.
I remember that.
In the Hard Rock Cafes.
Yes. This looks cool.
That's a Park mixer we got.
Imagine if 8-channel mixers were all this big. Yeah. They're about this big nowadays, aren't they? It's like...
Yeah, we got that from Switzerland about 2 years ago.
Brilliant.
Like contacted us and said, I've got one of these, would you be interested in it? And we searched to find out what we could about it, and we found some details about it. So we said, yeah, we'll have one. So
it's not even an amp, it's just a mixer?
It's just a mixer, yeah. So,
that's
so
an
cool. An organ speaker.
What's knob?
Knob is similar to Park. It's actually Ken Brown.
I was just about to say, is it a bit like that Natal story, but it's someone called Brian that just put their name?
Yeah, it's actually Ken Brown, who was our electric bloke, director.
Yeah.
It's his name backwards.
Yeah.
And there's only 8 in the world. We only ever built 8 of them. So.
And this is just like, what, like a 115 or something in there?
Yeah, it's a 1B12,
1B12, just in a massive oversized cab.
For the organ. They're very similar to the ones that John Lord used to use in Deep Purple.
Oh, cool.
He had, I think he used to have a stack of white ones. So, and then we got a Dave Mustaine cab It's the only signature cab we ever made.
Really?
Yeah, we've done signature heads, but we only ever done the one signature cab. And this one was actually built by Dave Mustaine himself.
Oh, I remember the
big metal grills.
Yes.
Yes,
I remember.
It's a different construction to a normal one. The baffle board doesn't come out of the cab.
Oh, wow.
So when the speakers and the back's on it, it's completely airtight.
Interesting.
He'd been trying to do it for ages at home.
Just, what does that do to the sound then? If
Gives it a slightly punchier sound.
Is it just interesting?
So he actually built that one though. When we started to build them, he actually came in, and in the photo you can see he's actually in the the finishing.
The inspection card is weapon readiness.
Yeah,
it is
all
weapon
signed
ready.
by Dave, because he did all of it. So that one cab, he went through the wood mill with it.
Really covered it and everything.
Yeah, he covered it.
Talented
the photo
man.
is me and him in finishing, actually building it. You know,
that's not you, is it, with the cap on?
Yeah.
What happened to all your hair?
Yeah. And yeah, he built the whole thing. So
amazing.
It was properly built. He didn't just tap a corner on. He physically built the whole thing.
Superb.
And then it went off. We sold it, and we only got it back last year. And we tracked it down on eBay. And it had actually gone to NAM, been auctioned off for a charity prize at NAM, and then come back to us. So and then this is our 50th anniversary blues breaker behind it.
Yeah.
And then this is one of our modern ones. This was actually used by Eric Clapton earlier
Just
this year.
does that say Eric?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of his.
Oh boy, what a trip. So Jeff used that one, presumably? Or?
Yeah, and the one up top we only made for him.
Oh wow, that JBM.
We never made it for the public. We only made that one just for him, and he only used it on one tour. So.
I saw Jeff do that Ronnie Scott gig in, I don't know, whenever it was, 2010, something like that. And it was all old Marshall stuff or reissues of old Marshall stuff. Just what a sound, what a sound. Lemmy's bass stack.
Yeah, we got one of Lemmy's bass stacks, and these two here next to it, the one with Mars Wars and the one underneath it, they're two of Motorhead's heads that date back to about 1979. They both still work. So this was one of Steve Jones's.
Is that how Steve Jones does his sort of, signature?
That is his signature.
Just basically writes Steve Jones.
So this was used. This was one of the ones we built for Bush Hall, because they've just recently done a charity gig for Bush Hall to save it in Shepherd's Bush, and that's one of the hands he used. These were Billy Joe Armstrong's.
Right. Yeah.
There were two of his, and then we got the Zakk Wylde underneath, which was never made public. It was the Zakk Wylde version of his signature. He had a signature version, and he wanted a slightly different one.
We've got some really oldie-woldy combos along here, haven't we? They look fabulous, these things, don't they?
So these are little Capris and that.
So is this just another sub-brand that was made for...
Yeah, these were done in the 60s, They'd just make little bits, and this was the reissue offset we done in.
So this is the logo you like, is it?
Yeah, that logo is. There's something about that. The white one's
it's very
classic,
intricate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very intricate. I do quite like the white one with the maroon block writing on it. There's something about that as well. I think is smart. What is that? Just like a PA cabinet?
This is a PA. This is a vocal PA.
My God, that's not even made of plastic. That's a cast metal.
That's metal.
Flare on the.
So, yeah, we got donated 2 of them. So we had 2 of them donated to us, and this was actually Bert's birthday present from us. Cause
did Bert ever play Marshall? Who knows?
Never know. We used to. He used to be in the office with Jim all the time.
Oh yeah.
Hanging about. So we made this one for his.
Amazing.
His birthday.
I don't know how many millions and millions of copies of Play in a Day were sold around the world, but for like, I don't know, 20, 30 years, it was just the book that everyone bought to learn to play guitar, wasn't it? What a lie. Learn to play in a day, physically not possible. I like that as well.
Yeah, another Park.
Oh, okay, so this is just almost like a Park version of a blues breaker then, really, isn't it? Or just...
And then we got the denim JVM we built.
Where am I looking here?
This one, the denim.
Oh, denim.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you said something else.
Yeah, and then we got the orange crushes. People always think we just do black boxes. We've always done colours and. So.
Is this one in the eye for a certain?
Yeah, yeah. And then we got the Jaguar.
Oh, for the car. Yes, I remember these.
This was part of our 40th anniversary.
So if you've got your beautiful X-Type and you just want a matching.
We built them. Jaguar upholstered them for us, and then everything is 24 karat gold plate.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then this is the Spinal Tap one.
Oh, really?
So this
I didn't know that you'd done anything special for Spinal Tap.
Yeah, well, these
is it like 10,000 watts goes to 11 or something?
Yeah, these actually were used by Spinal Tap.
Look.
So.
Can you see? Yep. Superb.
When they became a real band.
Don't even point at it. It's just.
That was one of the ones that they used.
Spinal Tap. Do you know what? I think all guitar players will relate to this, of hyping up how funny it was and insisting my wife watch it with me, because I don't know how long I'd known her for, not very long, whatever. But you got to watch this, the funniest thing, and they just don't get any of the jokes throughout the entire thing. Going, it's the worst film I've ever seen. You're sort of going, you really have to be a guitar player or in a band to get.
We've actually got the guitar, one of the guitars there as well, the one that looks like a Marshall.
I remember when you used to do these like display things, didn't you, with like the back of the amp in perspex,
we used to
so you
open
could
them up
see.
and show. So.
There it is. Come on, Marshall, reissue the Valve State 80. This was still probably the best sort of,
Everyone had one at one point.
Everyone had one. Sounded great. This would give Boss Katana a run for its money. I swear, if you could get this back out at a similar kind of money.
So many of them.
Literally thousands and thousands.
Thousands, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody had one of these. Everyone. I think you've got to love the guitar. Again, I think everybody sees these companies like, old Fenders and Gibsons and Marshalls and stuff, and think that these companies were massive back then. But really, they're all just buying bits and bobs off of anything to just go, how can I make I love it.
Yeah, it's like
Vacuum
the old
bags.
coffin logos. Jim would only buy exactly what he needed. So he wouldn't, if he had orders for 20, he'd buy 20, he wouldn't buy 50, because he'd never take it for granted what we'd do. So this was Kasabian's.
Yeah.
They, when Leicester won the Premier League, they actually used their theatre before it was a studio to rehearse in for a week before they did the gig.
Amazing. What would this have been? Is that a guitar amp or a bass amp, or just a big guitar amp?
Big guitar amp. So we've done so many different sort of things. Sort of everything changes. We do so many different versions of things. And
I just completely walked past the pedal cabinet.
Yeah.
So it's, obviously a lot of these people will be familiar with, but I'm not familiar with any other wah or fuzz pedals.
These are the wahs and the fuzz from the 60s.
Super wah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like an old tone bender sort of type vibe, isn't it? But
so we did them in the 60s and that, and then in the 80s we came out with the Governor.
Yeah.
And these are the four that we've actually, because we reissued them, these are the four that we used when we reissued them to make sure they were exactly the same.
What's the Gaia tone thing? Did you have something to do with Gaia tone for a while? Or?
Yeah, I think there was for a little while. Someone just had them in there. So.
Do you ever get to wind any of these up? Do you get like artists coming in? Can I use that in the studio or something like that?
Now and again, we do. We did some videos a couple of years ago where we went through some of the stuff and actually got the old stuff, like a couple of the Capris.
Brilliant.
Actually fired them back up and played them. So it was just a pure sound of the 60s. So you couldn't get no more authentic than that. So.
Oh goodness me. There'll be some vintage guitar amp dealers drooling over the opportunity to come and have a play in here. Well, thank you so much.
That's all right.
I think now we are going to head over to the studio that Marshall have on site here, because Terry should be here pretty soon. So, thanks, man. Will we see you again in the video, or have you got other things to do?
I'm not sure. I'll try and get back over if I can.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
That's all right.
Stay tuned. Going over to the studio.